Let me re-share my screen. This one. Okay, so the target visualization contest, a quick introduction of me. I'm Niels Thompson. I'm a product specialist at Target. I've been here for a decade. And I know the Target product inside out. So still, it was really interesting for me to see that some of the tricks and clever stuff that you use in the dashboards, I really had to scratch my head to understand what you actually did. And that was really great. That says a lot about the level of expertise with our customers and partners out there. With me, I hope I have Lars Bang. Are you there, Lars?
I just spoke with Lars and he's on his way. He'll be joining the meeting very, very briefly.
Okay, sounds good. Until he gets there, let's just move on to the next slide. Then Lars will.
I'm on now, Niels.
Okay, great. Thanks.
I was actually go to meeting. Sorry about that.
No problem. Okay. I was just at the point where I've introduced myself, and maybe you can put a few words to yourself, and I think you might have something to say to the participants.
Yes. My name is Lars Bang, and if you joined our Target week from the very beginning, you will have probably heard me in the opening session. I'm the vice president of Target in EMEA, and I've been here for about a year to be exact. And I'm, to be honest, very, very excited about the week that we have had so far. And I'm extremely excited about the session today. I want to, first of all, to thank everybody for signing up for this session, and especially a big warm thank you to those of you who have submitted your part in doing a strong and powerful visualization. I know Niels has been sneak previewing into those and is very excited about what you have been doing in a fairly short time, showing the capabilities and the possibilities with Target. There's around 20 submissions, around 44 have signed up for the session. Many countries are represented today. We have both end user clients as well as partners. And it's very exciting, and I really want to thank all of you for taking the time out of your busy calendars to do this and to share with you. And our ambition would actually be to see if we can find a way also to following this session to actually to use these cases as showcases on what can be done in a very short time with Target. So that being said, I want to hand over to you, Niels, again. But again, thank you from my side. It's really been a pleasure to see the great participation and interest in during the week, and especially also for this session that we have today. Over to you, Niels.
Thanks, Lars. And I totally agree. I've been so impressed, and my Target heart is actually quite warm seeing the amount of work that you've put into making these dashboards and the results that you've made. So as Lars said, we have 44 participants. Some of those being there for today to be inspired by what others have done. But actually, the active ones have built 106 dashboards. There's been a great commitment, and I would call it a competition spirit, because this is the first time we've done this in Target. And a few things maybe I didn't prepare for. One thing, you can make user dimensions, and you can share those, and that means you can actually, if you didn't have the right competition spirit, you could actually go and change other people's user dimensions. And the same goes for KPIs. If you make a KPI, it's globally there. But there's been a great competition spirit, even to the point where I've seen some saying, okay, that's a great user dimension that someone has made. I'm going to use that as well. which I think is in the spirit of this competition for sure. What I'm also very grateful for is that we have a representation of many different flavors, because visualization is not like a science where there's one result and everyone can agree on that. There are all the way from the Stephen Few disciples who are very minimalistic in the way they tend to want to visualize data, to some more flamboyant approaches, and both are definitely represented in this competition. So me being the referee, I really hope I'm not creating a lot of enemies, because I've gone with my gut feeling and sort of a compromise between the really clean approach and the more flamboyant one. So also the level of not just visualizing, but also the level of using calculations, required criteria, KPIs, working with the layers, semi-transparent or fully transparent layers, has been so great to see. And you're really stretching Target to reach a result where to the end user it seems really nice, and there's a lot of work behind that sometimes, but you've put in that work. And finally, there has been a lot of Olympic rings. I'm just showing you some samples that I've picked from your analysis. So the Olympic rings, well, I guess that was almost a given, and a lot of people have used them for navigation, and I have actually one example of using them for even more than that, actually using them for displaying data. So really interesting. I'm gonna do a lot of demoing in the next hour or so. Before I do, I just want to show you what we're all fighting for. The Target Oscar. It's a nice glass statuette that you can put on your desk, and every time your colleagues walk by, they can read that you're the Visualization Wizard Elite class. So that is what we're fighting for, and we have 5 winners today. But let's get back to that. For now, I would much rather start showing you some dashboards and some good examples. So we'll get to the winners in time. But for now, let's just quickly find a target client. Yeah, here we are. So this is a submitted dashboard, which I have a detail that I'd like to share with you. It's I hope it's okay to say that. It's Lotte Bjørn from Espersen in Denmark. And one of the great things that I found here, which is a great thing to share, is this clever stuff up here. So here we have silver, gold, and bronze medals. And they actually serve, as the mouse over text actually tells you, they serve as possible drills. So you can drill into the gold medalists and the silver medalist and so on by clicking these medals here. And let's have the first look a little bit under the hood to understand. Now I've drilled into bronze medals, and you see that's a dynamic text, really nice. Let's have the first look under the hood, because here's a visualization trick that a couple of you actually used, and I think it's really clever. So what is actually up here? There's a picture of some medals. There's actually a cross tab. It might as well have been a KPI showing the number. So there's a group of things. And on top of that, there's actually a very, very small bar chart. And where is that bar chart? Well, it's transparent. So why is there a bar chart here on the bronze medal? Well, as you can see on the left-hand side, it's a very small bar chart. It has a local filter saying just show the bronze. And if you work with properties on this bar chart and go to the colors, you can see that actually the coloring is transparent. So why is it there, this transparent bar chart? And there's another one here for the gold and another one for the silver. it's for the drilling. So if you didn't have the bar chart, you couldn't be able to drill, but having the bar chart, we're actually able to drill, and making it transparent, it's not gonna bother anyone. And this is a trick I've seen a couple of you actually use, and I just mentioned it because I really like that clever trick here. Also, if we are going to look a little bit into what others have done as well. Yeah, here you have a user dimension. I can see that by the symbol on the drop down. And I see that you have really adopted this idea, which is fairly new in Target since update 3, I think, that you can make user dimensions, in this example, for sort of bucketing, and then you can add them to the criteria bar, and you can really accommodate the users to choose the chunks of data that they want to filter by making these custom-made user dimensions and putting them in the criteria bar. So another great trick. Okay, but if I still were to put a few words to what I might be missing here, I think layout-wise, I have maybe a little trouble finding the theme here, and there's a lot of different colors going on, so it's not that calm to look at. And then I have something I'd like to discuss with all of you, actually, or a lot of you, because here you see the funnel chart being used to compare nations. And actually, a lot of you have used the funnel chart for that purpose. And here, I have to say that I do not agree. To me, a funnel chart is for showing a certain process, different stages of a certain process. It might be pipeline for sales that becomes more and more qualified and finally turns into a sale. Or it might be a project, different stages of a project that we measure. So to me, the funnel is meant to show stages of a certain process and not so much to compare data. I would actually much rather have a bar chart for that. So this is not nice, but I would probably go and do something like that, and then we have to unhide some stuff, I guess. But a horizontal bar chart would be much nicer for this purpose. But still, great idea with the transparent bar chart up here. Next one. Well, a much different flavor. Now we are bringing background pictures into the picture, which I think the layer thing gives a totally different aspect to Target. Obviously, still to me, there is a little too much different stuff going on here. We have a semi-transparent crosstab over here, and we have a not transparent crosstab over here on the left-hand side, and that to me is a little. I think consistency would be something that I would preach when we talk about the layout or visualization in general. Okay, let's move on to the next one. This one is Mr. Jason Ash, I think. Yes, it is. And as a whole, I have to say, and I know Jason very well, so I'm sure he won't take it the wrong way. There's maybe a little too much coloring and different colors going on, but having said that, there are this one down here. This is to my evaluation. It's the best attempt to tell a story about the development of genders throughout the history of the Olympics that any of you have done, and that's my personal opinion, of course. It is storytelling in the way that the big story is basically we're approaching 50-50. Of course we are in modern times, and this visualization tells it really good. And I also like that when you know the data, you know that there's space in here. So why not support the storytelling by putting a text box in the middle? and not just rely on what is possible with the chart, but actually be able to tell a little more. We know that this is what the chart looks like, so there's room to tell a story. So this is in my opinion a really great attempt of telling the story of originally the Olympics being 100% male, and throughout time we're approaching 50-50. So great cadeau for that part in Jason Ash's dashboard here. Also, one thing that I like, and I'd like to single that out, KPIs in Target. Originally, when we came out with the KPI feature, you could have KPIs with a lot of graphics in them and stuff. But to me, I would more go with this way for now, because since we have layers, it can be so simple. This is a KPI, and behind it, there's just a text box with a really big letter. And that makes together a composite object that is actually, in a very elegant way, telling the story of the average age of males and females. So these very simple KPIs, supported by graphics, or maybe even supported by another graph, making sort of a composite object, is something I really think can be great in a target visualization. We need to move on. Here's another example, a little bit looking like a bulletin board to me with stickers on it, and I think, okay, I'm gonna say the positive and also what I might find not so good. A little too much going on in terms of colors and so. But again, there's a detail that I really like. This is a slicer, and it actually, maybe it is a little misguiding that there are bars, because you expect bars to be showing data. So maybe it should have been much shorter bars to show that it's just a slicer. But it's actually a nice way of quickly making a slicer. And up here we have another example. And when you click a certain sport, then you drill into it. So it is actually just a slicer. It's just the original data for this bar chart is hidden. And then I can show you there's a calculation, just the simplest calculation you can think of, just saying 1. So that creates these very short bars that serve as drill options. Okay, I would disagree with the reading direction on this one. If it were to be a drill object, I would like it to be horizontal. But the idea of having a chart serving simply as a drill object is creative, and I think that's a great idea. This is also the first dashboard I'm showing you, I think it is, where we are introducing required criteria. And required criteria in Target is a great way of doing a little bit of storytelling, and also to make the dashboard a little less busy. So first, as it says here, when you select a sport, then you can learn a little bit about basketball, for instance. And then there's a chart telling me which countries have done best. Here's the detail I'd like to pause a little bit on. The drill color here is green, and I do not agree with having green as a drill color, because green to me is sort of like saying something is good, or something should be noticed anyway. But I like the idea that you have assigned a drill color, because not all of you do that. And I'll just quickly go to properties here and to colors and show you. Here's a conscious choice saying this is my drill color, and making a nice portal that is consistent. I would really recommend that you go through all your graphs and actually all your tables and make sure that the drill color is consistent throughout the full solution. So heads up for making a drill color, and maybe a different choice than green could be interesting. Moving on, We have here another dashboard where we have a little more navigation. And if we drill into, this is Mr. Devish, Kartikeyan Pugasandi from Irish Aviation Authorities. And I think there are some great examples here. If I go to the detail analysis, again, just maybe, again, color-wise, for my taste anyway, a little too busy. But there's a good thing here, again, in my opinion, when you have a bar chart or a horizontal bar chart like this, or a column chart with so few values, I would actually do, in many cases, the same here. So what I mean is, going through the properties of this chart here, maybe they should have had the same color, doesn't matter. But anyway, going through the properties, both the dimension axis has been totally removed. There's no line, there's no labeling here. We'll leave that to the explanation here. And also the measure axis. So you normally would have a scale in the bottom, but since we have 5 values, we can just put them on as labels. We don't really need that. So it gives it a really nice light look, in my opinion, when you remove those. And of course, you shouldn't always do it, but in some cases, you can actually do without the scale and without the dimension axis as well. So a great thing to add here. Let's move on. Okay, so this is Mr. Stephen Molcock of Datashaper, and Datashaper has been a great contributor to this competition. And again, here's a more complex version of this idea of using the bar chart as a slicer. The reading direction is better, and also there's a little meaning into the coloring. The red ones are the extinct disciplines from the Olympics. Okay, you could argue that somehow that information should be out there on the dashboard, or maybe in the mouse over, because I had to look in the color agents to learn that. But I like the idea that you compress information, so your slicer is not just a slicer, it's actually also conveying some information. In this case, that alpinism doesn't exist, at least in that form, in the Olympics, and military ski patrol neither. So that's a really great detail here. Also, here we have what I would call the bulletin board look, with the backgrounds, the colored backgrounds, maybe looking a little like stickers that you put on a bulletin board. I have one caution here to share with you, and it's definitely nothing to do with Stephen Molcock doing something wrong. But those here down in the bottom, singling out the oldest athlete, very nice, again, with illustrations and so on, KPIs. The oldest, the tallest, the heaviest, the lightest, the shortest, etc. They're all done with top lists, top 1. And as you did this contest, I did have some sneak peeks, and I noticed this dashboard was loading really slow. And actually, we learned a little bit at Target, because multiple top lists, and there are actually quite a few top lists here, is a little heavy for Target to load. So that's just a heads up from me, saying multiple top lists in the same dashboards can be a little heavy in Target. Okay. Moving on to the next one. Now, this is an entirely different expression, I think you could say. To me, this is more styled. There is a sense that there is a style behind it, and there is a consistent idea of what this dashboard should look like. There's also some navigation here, and I'm a little bit divided about the navigation, but it's great to share these different ideas. The navigation is actually here, and I think it's an original idea to put navigation with the bars, so you can sort of look further into what is in the bar. What I might be missing is for the unprepared user to be able to understand that there is navigation here. But there is. So we can click some navigation and go to most successful country. Sorry. And as we go to a different dashboard, you will learn that the style is extremely consistent. And I really like the rounded edges here. Those are just graphic backgrounds to a transparent chart. But everything inside a dashboard is always so square and with hard edges. So just such a small extra little feature that means adding some soft edges. I think it gives it a different expression, this dashboard. Okay, so a great dashboard. There are a few things I think I should note here if we go back. So going back is on the Olympic rings up here. Again, maybe that's a given these days. So now we might go down to the athletes, I think. And already here there's something. I know this is a visualization contest, but I'm a little surprised of 15 billion contenders. And maybe that actually reflects back to me, because I didn't give you a really great introduction to this data set. So this is a sum measure, and obviously, as I think you've done throughout most of the dashboards, the average measures, the count measures are the most interesting in this data set. So the sum measures will actually, in this case, give you a little strange result. But anyway, a nice little portal here with a very clear idea about how to set up the layout. And this was a runner-up for me, certainly a runner-up. And I was in great doubt, and maybe I was right and maybe I was wrong, but I just didn't include it in the 5 top ones, which we are coming to now. Okay, so now we are approaching Oscar area. This is Marlene Bergman from TSO Data, and there are different flavors out there, and I would agree if someone said that the previous one was more easy to look at. I would actually agree. So you can discuss. This is up for discussion for sure. Maybe I did also a little bit consider the amount of content, and this maybe goes a little bit deeper than the previous dashboard. But anyway, that's absolutely up for discussion, and there are some great ideas here that I really like. Let's have a look at, for instance, the rings here. From a designer perspective, there's something here that I really like. If you select this, it seems to be one big thing. All this with the rings and the white background and the different, I think this is text boxes actually. And if you look at the object list, then you learn that it's actually a group called menu. And that's just another heads up for all of you. It makes it so much easier to change your layout when you group things. And maybe I'm guessing that Marlene at some point discussed with herself, should there be a white background? Should there not be a white background? Well, she could just turn this on and off to try out. And again, to be perfectly honest, I actually prefer this one without the white background. But anyway, the nice way of organizing your objects will come back to you, because it will make it so much easier for you to move everything around in one go and to copy everything in one go. So I actually really like that work behind the scene. Also, there's an original idea in this that I also like a lot. If you go to the athletes dashboard, just say no to saving. This is supposed to be going down to athletes level. So we could choose a certain athlete here, and then we can actually print. So there's a report here. We can print a gold certification for that particular contender. I think that's a nice touch on this portal. Also to include the printing. On the right-hand side, another heads up for you. This is not Malene's fault. This is what Target does when there are no data. You drilled into something with no data. With the 2020 version, we're actually coming up with a nice solution for this. So that will be a great thing to know for all of you who are designing a lot and really think things should look nice, that you can also control this situation in the 2020 version coming up in October. Okay, the same goes for the cross tabs. Actually, I like the way it has been set up. So again, if you select this, it seems to be one big area. And if you look at the object list, you can actually, again, experiment and turn off the white background and see that it's actually semi-transparent. So a lot of nice details here in Malene's dashboard. Actually, this is one of the Oscar winners. So let's move on to the next one. And let's actually go back. I'm sorry, we need to start in the right corner of this one. This is here. So this is a Data Shaper team effort from Robbie, Ramaya, Will, and Amir. And it has some features that are unique to this one, to the competition. And first of all, there is a start page with an actual explanation how to use this. What is it that we have in these dashboards? Then there's actually a nice overview of all the functionality included in these dashboards. Again, I am starstruck by how much effort you have put into this. It is fantastic. And actually, here's something we need to discuss in Target, because you went so deep that you found out you were missing certain functionalities to get it even better. So we're definitely going to look into this. But let's dive into this portal here by Data Shaper Team 1, we might call them. So something else they've done, which I'm really impressed by, is you see these medals here, gold, silver, bronze, and you see these icons here. They serve, these ones serve as drills. So if you drill into gold, then you have a gold colored area chart. And if you drill into silver, then you have a silver colored area chart. Nice little feature, by the way. That's because the coloring of this area chart is controlled by dimension colors. I don't know how many of you are actually using this feature in Target, but you can actually assign a color to a certain dimension value. And this is a really relevant case for that. It's really nice way this has been created. But what is this actually? How does it work? Why can we drill on this? Is there a transparent bar chart here, or what is it? No, not actually. This is an area map chart. And that's what is impressing me, because area maps are, well, most people use them for geography. But in this case, these guys have made an area chart, and then they have mapped, this is an SVG file, then they have mapped gold to gold, silver to silver, bronze to bronze. So it actually works as if it was a map of different metals, and you can drill on it. And this is something that Data Shaper Team 1 have done a lot of, because below this you see another idea, and this one is something I really like. This is also SVG maps, again mapped then to different sports behind the scene, and in this case there's a trigger. So if I hit the bicycle man here, then it takes me to another dashboard, and I can see that I've pre-selected cycling up here. Really nice way of dealing with and helping the end user in a graphical way to navigate and understand what he's done. I'm really impressed by that. if we go back, there's actually maybe this is a little nerdy detail, but you are into details, I've noticed. If we drill into different stuff in this dashboard, maybe we want to focus on athletics, maybe we want to do something else, then this, or maybe we focus on gold medals and so on, then this trigger is actually a little more, a little more complex than you would think, because the trigger opens up another dashboard called sports, and it inherits the sport. That actually means that if you're drilled into something else and then chooses bicycling, then it will drop all your other filters and keep only the sport. So I think that's an underestimated thing in Target. You can have people drill into something and then they say, okay, but now I want to focus on cycling and forget about all my other filters. That's basically what this is saying. A really nice advanced setup in this dashboard. Maybe I'm not sure you can see it on the teams, but there's a very subtle background here, and it's on the object list. So if we switch off the object in the bottom, then you can see now it disappeared. So there's a subtle background here, and I definitely like what you've done here. But one of the next one actually I'm going to show has a different approach to this, which might be more flexible. But let's get back to that. Okay, one more caution for you all actually, and I'm not. This is not particular Team 1 from Datashaper, but if we look at the object list, there are 77 unused objects here. And that's because there's been a lot of experimenting here. I can definitely tell a lot of objects has been made part of this dashboard and then deleted again. But you need to be aware they don't disappear. They just go into the waste basket into this object list. So a nice cleanup would be to say delete all the unused objects. And that goes out to all of you. The data is not loaded, but still it makes the analysis a little heavier. It's a bigger file simply. So please clean up the unused objects when you work with Target. Okay, I've spoken very highly of this. I have to name a few things that I find a little maybe not quite thought through. Here we have the gender split, so that's okay. I think it's a nice visualization showing again that we are approaching 50-50. So males are mint green and females are orange. Okay, I've learned that. I understand that. But now I'm choosing the history dashboard for Datashaper Team 1, and I'm picking a certain year. And now in the, here we have it actually. In this pie chart, different colors now for females and males. So I would like to preach consistency. I would really recommend that you are consistent when you use colors. That would help out a lot. This slicer on the left-hand side, by the way, maybe it would have been better to be a little inspired by your colleague, Stephen Mulcock, because this looks very table-like. Maybe it could have been an idea to make those very tiny bars as selectors. But again, just an idea. It's a matter of flavor. If we look at these color agents, that's also a part of visualization. There's not a lot of color agents in your visualizations, but these ones, okay, so what I like about them is that as Stephen Few preaches, not just the color, but actually also the shape of the color agent tells the story. So if you're green-red, blind, if you're not able to distinguish between green and red, then you can still look at the shape of this. But still, there's something wrong out here. Seems to be a mistake here. And when you look at the color region, I think there's a wrong reference. But no matter. Why not? If you're using two outcomes, then just make one of them into all, and then push it up, because then you have both outcomes. And again, being a little, I'm not a Stephen Few disciple, but I do share some ideas with him. Maybe it's not important to tell that it's been good, it's been bad for everything. Maybe you can just tell bad and that's it. But then you could do something else. And let's just try and change this one quickly. In Target, there is another icon series which also has the virtues of saying arrow down, maybe not that big, red. And then I would say the other outcome. Why even color it? Because there's enough color on this. Why not just say all like I did before? And then you have a trick here I've shared with some of you. This particular set of icons, you have a transparent one. Because I really, and we have to push it one up here. I really like that you have, oh, sorry, I think I messed up with the conditions here. Was it this one we had before? Sorry. I think I'll just change the other two here to show you my point. I like this right justify. I definitely like that because it's much easier to read which number does this belong to. But maybe you could use another gauge, this one, the green one, actually like this. And then say, okay, that's enough to tell the story of the good ones. So now we're going to use, again, the same type of gauge, but we're going to use the transparent one. So this was my point I was trying to make. Now we have some pointing up and some that are actually with the same offset. It's justified the same way, so you can read the numbers because there's a transparent agent for the others out here. Long story, just to show you a point about these color agents. A lot of great stuff here. I'll just show you one more thing that I really liked about this on the Teams dashboard. I think it was. There's another use of KPIs with the of SVG maps. This is one big SVG map to the different countries. Really nice. Also up here, this is really clever in my opinion. Let's drill into a certain country like the UK. So notice this is an SVG map meant for drilling, but it also conveys some information really elegant. So this, I think, is a bronze medal. Means there's a bronze medal for the UK. This means they just participated. And I think this is silver, if I remember correctly. Again, you could argue the coloring is not obvious to people who, or maybe they can read it from down here actually. So this is an SVG map and it's colored, so you get a nice overview. Which disciplines did Great Britain actually win bronze and silver, and which did they just participate of the ones that I mentioned up here? Again, a lot of you did this with the funnel, and I don't totally agree with that, but we've been through that by now. But another one of my receivers of the Oscar. Let's move on to a totally different flavor again, but also something that I think is worthy of an Oscar. This is Michael Overgaard from the Danish partner called KMD. And he has a really great grip on transparency, in my opinion. So let me show how he works with transparency, and maybe that can inspire some of you. So if you look at it down here on the object list, it's really nice that most of them are named, so you can find out where to look, here's the background image. So we can remove that and see, okay, that's the background image. But what is this shade? So instead of finishing up a picture with a certain degree of dimness in the graphics editor, he put a text box on top of it. And that allows him to experiment really quickly with the amount of transparency, the level of transparency. So you could change this really quickly and say, okay, let's go with this value here, and that's much less transparent now. So I like this just as a working tool, because instead of creating a new piece of graphics with a different level of transparency or a different level of dimming, then you can just put this semi-transparent layer on top and experiment inside Target. So for each of these charts, well, they are also semi-transparent. So semi-transparency combined with semi-transparency actually gives you a nice, sorry, it's not the chart actually, it's actually the text box behind it that is semi-transparent. So let's look at that. So here we have another value of 50 for transparency. So that gives you a semi-transparent background image with a little less transparent background for the graph. And that gives a really nice effect, makes it so easy to overview the dashboard, I think. I hope that inspired some of you to use that approach. This one in the middle is one of my favorites also. A lot of you used Olympic rings. Michael took it actually a step further because he made donut charts on each of the rings. So this is a donut chart showing the split of gender for athletics and the split of gender here for canoeing and so on. So he put the Olympic rings to use so they can actually reflect data, which I think is a great idea, really creative idea. And creativeness is also what this is about, I think. Looking at, he has one more dashboard here. I vote for the consistency of this. I really like that he inherited the colors from the Olympic rings, and then he stayed with them. The only exception to the rule being gold, silver, bronze, which a lot of you thought of as well. But yeah, this is a visualization contest, and well, I make the rules. So maybe there can be difference in opinion about some of the previous ones I showed, because maybe they are a little busy. I understand that argument. This one is a more classic approach to making a layout that is consistent and easy to look at, because you get what you expect. He stays within the color schema, and he stays within the layout of the original dashboard. So many points for consistency and many points for the creative use of the Olympic rings. I'm just going to jump to another winner, which is even more clean. So this is, again, this is more like classic layout to me. What I especially like about this dashboard from Mr. Twan Berkers, a customer of Target from Holland, is the, for instance, the crosstab themes, because crosstabs, if you use the original layout, look a little bit like Excel. Every other row is colored, but you can actually make crosstabs look quite nice for visualization. And in this case, you can go with a crosstab theme. And again, I'm really grateful that in the competition spirit, this theme was you can save a theme, and others could use it if you like. But I really think this is one of the best cross-tab themes in all of your solutions, and I really gave a lot of points for that. Also, there's an idea up here that I like. This is navigation up here. So this allows us to dive into some other parts of this solution. And then you can go back with a nice clean navigation up here. But my point is actually that if I can go back in just a second, still loading. Here we are. My point is this is navigation loaded with information. So again, you compress information by showing information, and then you can actually click on it, and then you go to a different dashboard and learn more about it. This is not the standard target menu, so it took a little work. This is actually different tables. So there's a lot of work putting into it, but again, that is work for the designer. To the end user, it looks really nice to me. So I realize I have priced a little different aspects here. This is priced for the very, very clean look of it and the nice cross-tab themes, the nice navigation. And others I have priced a little bit for the cleverness of it using the SVG maps, but maybe not as much a consistent layout. I would agree to that. Okay, the 4 last ones that I have shown being Marlene Bergman from TSO Data, Data Shaper Team 1, Michael Overgaard from KMD, and Twan Berkers from Holland. They are winners. And they are equal, in my opinion. They are very different, but they are equal to me. But I do have one which I think is a little bit better than the rest, and that's the last one I'm going to show you today. So this one is, you could call it Data Shaper Team 2, consisting of Luke, Dewey, and Andy, who have built a really, really nice set of dashboards here. Many clever ideas in this dashboard. Also, actually, quite nice cross-tab themes and other good ideas. Let's go back to the home up here. Originally, very minimalistic start. The Olympic rings and nice consistency again. Of course, a blue link if you have a blue ring and so on. So then you can dive into them, and this one is one of my favorites, the country's dashboard here. So what we have out here on the left-hand side and the right-hand side are flags, and here's a nudger for the user saying, please click a flag. And actually, it's the same trick as the Danish customer Lotte Bjørn, the very first dashboard I showed you, because behind the scene there is a transparent bar chart, a horizontal bar chart going down. So when I click Sweden, for instance, I learn a lot about the Swedish contenders. And what I actually click, I think I click the flag, but what I actually click is a transparent bar. There's a transparent bar chart. So a really nice, clever idea here by Data Shaper Team 2. So these flags makes it so self-evident for the users how to use this slicer. And I really think that's a great thing that you've made it so simple. Also, I like the structure that within all your dashboards, you can go to summer or winter and focus. I think Sweden might have done really great on winter. The transition is not these guys' faults. It looks a little strange when you use remote desktop for this. So a really, really nice way of creating this actually just slicers basically with the flags, and you could call these a sub slicer or what have you. but I really like it. And the coloring is actually also quite consistent here. There are different flavors out there. I would suppose that some would think that the background image is a little bit too dominant, but again, that's a matter of flavor. If you like it or not. Okay, I think I had a few more things to say about this. I'll just go back up here. That will clear all filters, sorry. I'll go home and just pick the history for now. Okay, this is also a little bit nerdy, but when I looked at this nice way of showing medals where people can step up and receive their gold and silver and bronze, it struck me. How did they do it? Because this is just a bar chart and the label says 1, 2, 3, which is true, but they come in a different sort order. They actually come with 2, 1, 3. So it's a small trick, I know, but I really like the level of detail, the attention to detail. So look at what they did here. They made a nice calculation called order, and order, yeah, it's an if sentence saying, okay, if you are number 1, then you're actually number 2, and if you're number 2, then you're actually number 1, and if you are number 3, then you are number 3. So you can see it if I just make it visible. The order calculation. Oh, sorry, it's already there. Yeah. So the order is meant to be able to sort the data. So the rank is one thing. That's US is number 1, sorry, and Soviet number 2, and Germany number 3. But this calculation was made just to be able to sort the data, so you could make a bar chart showing the right way people would expect to see medals given out in the Olympics. A really nice small feature here. Much appreciated. Another thing, I just have to go, I can't quite recall which dashboard that was on, which I like. I think it's actually in the countries, but let's see. Maybe not. No, here it is, I think, current disciplines. No, sorry, I have to look a little bit. What they did, what I'm browsing to show you is they are giving us the most and comparing it. No, definitely not that one. Let's go back. Or maybe I'll just pick up another tab and open up again. Just a second. Okay, it loaded now. We'll just go back to countries. I think that was the right one. So if we click like the Italian flag, sorry, not the right one. It's great, by the way. This is a KPI showing the medals for each of those. Really nice details. I'll just browse a little more. What they are doing. Yeah, and here's a little bit of criticism. Now that we passed it, I can't help mentioning it. I'm not happy with using the funnel like this, but a matter of taste, I would guess. Okay, it was just the last detail I wanted to show you. So maybe okay. It's actually done here as well. So if you select two disciplines here, like Basque and Crockett, then you actually have a really nice, this is great, a versus visualization. The two I selected in sort of, again, a little like a bulletin board, comparing those two. And this is Olympics, but I'm thinking shops or departments and really, really great idea that can be used approximately 1 million places in different dashboards about the extinct disciplines. Okay, that was a lot of talk. I've tried to show you good things from all the dashboards and basically also mention where I disagree with even the good, really great dashboards. And I hope that it gave you some inspiration. There are definitely some great ideas out there. I think, as Lars mentioned, we're going to reach out to you and ask you if we can have this permanently shown in a way where we can inspire other target users. But we'll reach out for that. Great. If there are anyone who has something they would like to mention, then I can just stop sharing my screen and maybe we can have a discussion. Those that are interested, I see a couple of chats going on here. Okay. As this meeting ends, I will just say thanks a lot once again to all of you for being a part of this. And the Oscars will reach the 5 mentioned parties. Those of you who teamed up will have to share it, I'm afraid. So it can move from desk to desk, telling everyone in the world that you are target visualization wizard in the elite class. Anyone has something to discuss, I will stay on the meeting for some time and see if something pops up in the chat, or you could actually also unmute yourself at this point. Here we have a question on this comparison, the last one here. And I just have to, if we can show how it was done. And I just have to remember that. So just a second for that part. Yeah. So how do they compare those two? Actually, behind all those numbers, there's a very small crosstab or a KPI actually.
Can you share your screen, please?
Oh, sorry, I'm not showing my screen right now. Just a second. Yeah, just a second. I will share it again. Okay, so, oh yeah, so let's have a look here at the chart properties. This is showing the measure value and actually, as I'm looking at it right now, I have to admit I can't really see exactly what has been done in this case here. So that was a good question.
Maybe if one of the guys from DataShape is online, maybe they could explain it.
Great. Is Luke or Dewey or Andy here? I got it now. I think actually what they do is they sort them differently. Yeah.
Sorry, I was just talking away. Sorry, it's Luke from Datashaper.
Okay, Luke.
I've got myself muted still.
Okay, thanks, Luke. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's as Niels was saying, it's a series of KPIs, and on either side, so the KPIs on the left rank by descending, and the ones on the right rank by ascending. So you always get two different disciplines on either side. And as you can see, when Niels has moved the background, this was just a background that we created in the in Paint just to stick it in there. That the numbers obviously appeared in the circles. We were going for sort of a top trump sort of feel, sort of comparing sports to see which ones had the best stats, sort of like the most athletes competed, obviously the most Olympic games. And then the actual trivia at the bottom works slightly differently. So that's ignoring obviously the disciplines you've selected. That's just across the whole of sort of the Olympic history to sort of help answer some of the questions that you guys set us at the beginning of the challenge.
Great, thanks. And yeah, and again, I had the same experience that I had throughout this competition. Such clever stuff is done that it takes a while to figure it out, but this is really nice. Just sorting them, one ascendingly, the other descendingly, you get two different results to show in your KPI, obviously. Yeah. Great. Actually, there was one more point from this. I noticed that you used required criteria in a lot of places. And I think a lot of people did that. And a lot of people found a great solution, because sometimes you have just text that you want to show conditionally. And the problem is that the text box cannot respond to required criteria. So I saw a really nice solution where people made a KPI just consisting of text. The idea is that once you have it as a KPI, it will respond to required criteria, and then you're able to make it disappear and come back as you prefer. Okay. Yeah, and someone out there guessed it while I was guessing it, that maybe it's only sorted. It's a great idea, and as Ole states, simple and nice. Okay, thanks everyone for your time. It's been so great having you, and we're going to do this again for sure. But thanks for your time, and have a nice weekend.